Oliver, aren't we excited to be here?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, so let's everyone take a big deep breath and exhale. And as we exhale, we're releasing everything that is a distraction, everything that we do not want. We're going to inhale again, breathe in deeply, inhaling everything that is good and lovely and beautiful, everything that is our reality. And then let's start with this too. We want to set our intentions for what we're going to do. So we'd like for everyone to, if you have something to write with, we'd love for you to write this down. We want you to think about something that you are happy and grateful for. We want to start out with a sense of gratitude. So write down what you're happy and grateful for. I will share what I'm happy and grateful for. I am happy and grateful that all of you have decided to join with us as we spend time arousing and exciting our awareness as to God is, which is ultimately going to help us understand who we are too. So let's get started.
Hey, what about me?
Oh, would you like to share? Okay,
Absolutely.
we'll go right
Well,
ahead.
first of all, I just want to thank everyone for joining with us. And what I'm happy and grateful about is I've been married to this young lady for 30 years, and it's been 30 of the best years of my life. And I wouldn't have it any other way. So
Outstanding.
that's what I'm happy and grateful for.
Wow, he's going to get a reward for that. That was great. All right, let's start our presentation.
Well, as hopefully some of you or most of you got to see the interview with Susan on Friday, that would have given you a peek preview into what we're going to be doing for the next 4 weeks with you, including celebrating my birthday.
Yes, we will.
Uh, if you heard Susan's introduction on Friday, uh, part of that introduction included the fact that Yolanda and I are we are professional certified life coaches, and that we are a dance loving couple. And I'm going to be celebrating my 62nd birthday during this masterclass on March 11th. So there will be dancing.
And there will be cake.
And there will be cake.
Yes.
So we'll give you some more detailed instructions about the cake, but the dancing will be a surprise. So just work with us, and we're going to have some fun. Um, and we want you to just really relax and soak in this fellowship that we're going to have for the next 4 weeks. So, God is, and there is nothing else, is the title of our masterclass. And I'm going to share my screen here, and we're going to have a few slides. Let's see here. Bear with me. Let's see here. I don't see it. Don't see it. Is that it? That's not it. That's it.
It's behind.
That's it. That's
Yeah.
it. Yeah. I got it.
There we go.
Don't see that. It's not showing up. Hang on.
We can see that, Oliver, but not the first slide. I think you're on the second slide at the moment.
Can you see this?
I can see Goddess Masterclass objectives.
Okay. Well, we're going to go here and we're going to make it huge.
There we go.
We're going to do play. Is that good?
That's it. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you.
So yes, so we're going to be on this journey for the next 4 weeks, discovering and deepening our understanding and awareness and participation in the God is idea. So our masterclass objectives for the first 4 weeks, for the next 4 weeks, will be: number one, to deepen our understanding of oneness as being your only reality or our only reality.
Yes.
You want to read next?
We'll go with we'll go over some transformational practices that will support a direct experience of the God is reality and our very own as our very own reality.
And most of all, we want to promote engagement among all the attendees with us as the presenters to ensure meaningful application of the God is reality. Because any truth has no value to us personally if it has no benefit to us personally.
That's right.
So want to make sure that
We want to make certain it's practical.
It's practical, absolutely. And you'll find out after being with Yolanda and I for 4 weeks that she's the practical one and I'm more of the visionary one. So she's going to make sure that you go away with some tools that can help you.
All right. Our goal as teachers is to make certain that we are unnecessary by teaching you everything that we know about the content of this class. It's not everything there is, but there is a few things in particular that we want to make certain that we go over with you guys.
Yes. And secondly, we want to love you during this 4 weeks as you decide for yourself to set aside every illusion that you possibly had ever given credence to so that you can remember the truth of your God is reality.
All right, so let's get into it.
Okay, this schematic right here is basically an overview of the entire 4 weeks. And this week, we're going to be focusing in on the awakening to the only reality that exists, which is God is.
Yes.
Oliver, you're still on the same slide. If you go forward to your next slide.
On
I'm
our
still seeing our goal as teachers.
go back. So there must be a delay because on our screen it's showing our schematic with it's like DNA. You gonna come again?
How about that, Suze?
I'm still seeing the same one. Our goal as teachers.
Wow, okay, because it's changing on my screen.
Stop the share and start over real quickly.
All right, I'm going to stop it and start again.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
How about that, Susan?
So I'm not seeing anything.
Oh wow.
Wow. Okay, technology.
Of course, all of our tests runs, it works great.
Yeah, that's always the way you land, isn't it?
It says you are sharing your screen.
Yeah, I can just see Oliver Blue has started screen sharing, but I'm not actually seeing. Yeah, someone else has put that on, so it's not just at my end. We've just got a black screen that says you've started screen sharing, but we're not actually seeing what you're sharing.
Okay.
Okay, so
Do you want me to send it to you?
No.
So when you share your screen, so stop sharing again.
Yep.
And when you share your screen, you will see the white box, and then you click on the where it says your PowerPoint on the white box when you first start to share screen. Somebody suggesting double click. Try and share again.
You're there. Go
I
ahead.
just did.
Go ahead.
Are you seeing it?
No.
Wow.
Wow.
So
Okay. And
we're getting into it. And now we do Zoom all the time. So, and we do these all the time. So
yeah,
what is going on?
yeah. And we practiced before before you came on, and it was working.
Yeah.
We'll try it again.
Yeah. Try again. Okay, I'm seeing it now. That's it.
Just go ahead and go to the
Yes. So go just like that's it.
You
That's
seeing
it.
that one?
That's it. Perfect.
Okay. Sorry about that.
wow. Well, why was it there in the night? Okay. Anyway, deep breath in.
Ah, okay.
Okay.
Okay. Again, this schematic is basically what uh, the the flow of the 4-week masterclass that we will be going. And so this week we're concentrating on week 1.
Awakening. Now there's a progression in this, in that we will go from awakening to enlightenment to awareness, and then we're going to be doing expression.
Will be our last 4 weeks. Yes.
All right. All right. So we're going to move quickly since we.
Okay. Week 1, awakening to the only existence, only entity that exists, God is.
So what we're not saying that God is and there is something else. We're saying that God is and there is nothing else. Everything is God. And in that statement, God is, it encompasses everything else.
That means that there's nothing outside of the one entity that exists.
Yes.
And I know that is just a grand idea, and what we're going to help help all of us to understand it. How does that work out in our daily life?
Yes.
So from workbook lesson 169, this statement, we want to read this statement. Go ahead.
We're just gonna read. We're gonna go down to paragraph 5. This is in 169. Of course, you want to read the entire workbook lesson, but we're going to focus today on workbook lesson 169. We're going to start at paragraph 5, and we're going to read through sentences 1 through 7. Oneness is simply the idea God is, and in his being, he encompasses all things. No mind holds anything but him. We say God is, and then we cease to speak. For in that knowledge, words are meaningless. There are no lips to speak them, and no part of mind sufficiently distinct to feel that it is now aware of something not itself. It has united with its source, and like its source itself, it merely is.
Wow, that is a profound statement. So this lesson starts out by saying oneness is simply the idea God is. Not two-ness or three-ness, multiplicity of things, but just one thing. This statement is really having us to understand, but there's only the one thing. And within that one thing, which we call, people use the word God, or they may use other references. But I think the most simplest synonym to God is the word reality. And so you can read that oneness is simply the idea of the one reality, the only reality that exists. And if there's anything else that exists, it has to exist within that reality. There's nothing outside of it. In other words, this reality is what sources all things, everything, on every level, in every dimension. It says, in his being, it encompasses all things. That means it leaves out what?
Nothing.
It leaves out nothing. No mind holds anything but him. And we say God is, and we cease to speak. So that whole idea that if the one idea or the one reality is God, within that, everything is encompassed, then there's nothing really to add to that.
Everything is included.
Everything's included. So there's really nothing to add to that reality. So how that affects us where we're sitting in this place right now is that reality has to include us.
Mhm.
We're not something else apart from God,
Not separate or apart.
not separate or apart, but we are a part of that one reality, one love, one source, one power, and everything that exists has to exist within that
Source.
within that source.
Yes. Keep on to your next one. Mhm. So, this is one of my favorites. I love that the course can be summed up in this: nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God.
So, right at the beginning of the Course in Miracles, and hopefully would not really know, but most of you probably are familiar with the course, but right at the beginning of the course, in the preference, it makes a distinct difference between that which is real and that which is unreal.
Mhm.
Okay. It says in the preference. Could you read that,
preface?
Lonnie? It's right there in the
Absolutely.
preface.
Almost
It
certain.
makes it this right off the beginning of the course. It makes a distinction between the real and the unreal.
Yes.
And we will make that distinction in this 4 weeks as we go through this class, because it's so important. Just like the summation says, nothing real can be threatened. Nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. That means our experience of ourself, our experience of life itself would depend on us having an understanding between the real and the unreal.
Okay, so this is in the preface, and this is on Roman numeral page 10, and it's right under what it says. And it's when it states in the middle of the book, nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. It reads this way: this is how A Course in Miracle begins. It makes a fundamental distinction between the real and the unreal, between knowledge and perception. Knowledge is truth under one law, the law of love or God. Truth is unalterable, eternal, and unambiguous. It can be unrecognized, that is truth. It can be unrecognized, but it cannot be changed. It applies to everything that God created, and only what He created is real. It is beyond learning because it is beyond time and process. It has no opposite, no beginning, and no end. It merely is.
It merely is. And that statement is synonymous with God is, and there is nothing else. Only the real exist. Real is the root word of the word reality.
Mhm.
And so, right at the beginning of the course, it deals with that which is real and that which is unreal, because it knows that the block to the awareness of this, of love's presence, the blocks to the awareness of accepting this truth, is the fact that we have to, on this earth plane level, as individuated uh, humans, we have to deal with that which is real and unreal, because we are in this world of perception that it mentioned there, where things has to be interpreted.
Mhm.
But in reality, there is no interpretation. There's only God,
Yes.
and there's nothing else. But because we find ourselves, like the Course says, we have fallen asleep in a dream of separation, and then we find ourselves in a world of illusion that is based on perception or is based on interpretation.
Mhm.
And without the right awareness of what is real and unreal, our interpretation will be wrong.
Oh,
In fact, it is our interpretation as a collective being that has created this world that we see and that we're all watching and experiencing every day, that appears that it is going to, I won't say it, it's going
hell
to,
in a hand.
it's going to hell in
a
a handbasket.
But that's not true.
But that's not true. And so what we want to establish here right at the very beginning of the class is that our embracing of the what is real versus what is unreal, that is what's going to determine how we experience not only ourselves
Yes.
but our brothers and
Yes.
sisters, as well as experience the reality that there's God and nothing else.
Yes.
Because without embracing that which is real, and if we embrace that which is not real, like the course says in many places in the workbook, that we are as God created us, that we are not a body, that this world is an illusion. And so if that's our interpretation of things, then we will experience the world in that way. And there will not be much peace to be experienced.
Yeah. As a matter of fact, the following 3 or 4 paragraphs underneath that on pages Roman number 10, 11 in the preface, they actually go through and talk about the world of perception
Yeah.
and knowledge and perception. So you might want to read that to refresh your memory
Okay,
on that.
so I'm going to take a little detour uh, because as we were preparing to do this presentation on God is, I kept being reminded that what's the illustration I use? If you put lipstick on a pig,
He asked me, if you put lipstick on a pig,
what
is it still a pig?
is it still a pig?
Yes, it's
It's still
a
a
pig
pig.
with lipstick.
Right.
But
And I was just impressed with the fact that just to go 4 weeks talking about God is, and there's nothing else, and where we fit in that, without dealing with the separation, without dealing with the one thing that keeps us from embracing that,
yes.
which the course says, which is guilt, then I would just be laying all this grandiose information. Maybe someone out there would be receiving it, but can't really embrace it because they don't see it possible for them to be one with God, or they don't feel worthy of being one with God, or it just seems like just too much of an idea for me to even think I can equate myself with having that kind of experience with God.
Mhm.
And so I was impressed to deal with the original separation and the one thing that is a block to the awareness from us receiving this message, and that is guilt. So we're going to detour over to chapter 13 in the Course of Miracles. In chapter 13, Susan, can you confirm we're on the right? The slides are on the.
Yes, I can see the guiltless world.
Okay,
great.
So in chapter 13, and we're not going to read all the chapter, but it's just important that we establish our innocence as sons of God, sons and daughters of God. It's critical important that we fully embrace that without any exception. Otherwise, they're where the peace evades us. So, Lonnie, will you want to go ahead and read a few of those?
Okay, so in chapter 13, paragraph 1, verse 7, we're not going to read all of it. We're just going to do some highlights. In sentence 7, it says, "For it is guilt that has obscured the Father to you." In paragraph 2, sentence 1, "The acceptance of guilt in the mind of God's Son was the beginning of the separation, as the acceptance of the atonement is its end. The world you see is the delusional system of those made mad by guilt."
Can you
That's
read that
2
again?
2. The world you see is the delusional system of those made mad by guilt.
Stop right there. And we don't have to look very far in our present day situations in the world. And that's kind of a good description of what we see. But we're going to correct that. Go ahead.
Yes. In sentence 4, the world is the symbol of punishment. In paragraph 3, the first sentence, it says, In this was the world, the real world. God, if this was the real world, God would be cruel, and that would be true.
And that would be true.
In verse, in I keep saying verse. That's the Bible thing. In paragraph 3, sentence 6, it said Adam's sin could have touched no one had he not believed it was the Father who drove him from paradise.
So true.
So true. In paragraph 4, the first sentence, this world is the picture of the crucifixion of God's Son. 2, and until you realize that God's Son cannot be crucified, this is the world you will see. So now we're going to go from 3 to 6, skipping part of it. Accept the eternal fact that God's Son is not guilty.
God's Son is what?
Not guilty. He deserves only love because he has given only love. He cannot be condemned because he has never condemned. The atonement is the final lesson he need learn, for it teaches him that never having sinned, he has no need of salvation.
The atonement is the final lesson that we all need to learn. And that is that we have never been separated. And therefore, in reality, there is no need for salvation. Wait a minute.
All right. Peace. This is peace and guilt are antithetical to, and the Father can be remembered only in peace. You're not guiltless in time, but in eternity. And I think that's one of the places where we really struggle at. You know, we say, well, we know we've done, or we know someone else that has done something, but it's our guiltlessness is in that eternity. So it's not this.
It's not the earthly experience
it's
that
not
we're
that.
having, because if you really embrace what the course is teaching, the course really says there is no world, there is no you or me. It's only heaven, it's only oneness, and it has not been affected by anything that we have seen or experienced in this body mind, in our body mind experience.
Mhm.
It's all a dream. In fact, it says someplace in the course that Adam fell asleep, but it never said that he ever awake. And so as we look out into the world, you can see where there's the majority of the 8 billion people on this planet are not aware of their guiltlessness, their blamelessness, their sinlessness, their oneness with everything. And therefore, that's why we see the chaos.
Mhm.
That's why we see the chaos.
Mhm.
All right, babe.
All right. Okay, so now I'm going to do, so we're still in chapter 13. We're in that Roman numeral 1 under that section, and we're in paragraph 5.
Verse 6.
So we're at 6. For the Son of God is, this is sentence 6. We keep
Sentences.
saying verse. For the Son of God is guiltless now, and the brightness of his purity shines untouched forever in God's mind. 7. God's Son will always be as he was created. So what this really is saying is that God sees us as he created us, not in the light of what we project ourselves to be. And because that is what is real. What is real is what he created. What we created is a misrepresentation of what he's created. So that's not real. And according to the course, it doesn't even exist.
Doesn't even
It
exist.
doesn't even exist. So we can release ourselves from the guilt of that. In paragraph 6, verses 1 through 4, when you have accepted the atonement for yourself, you will realize that there is no guilt in God's Son. And only as you look upon him as guiltless can you understand his oneness. For the idea of guilt brings a belief in condemnation of one by another, projecting separation in place of unity. You can condemn only yourself, and by doing, okay, Oliver, you can condemn only yourself, and by doing so, you cannot know that you are God's son. God's Son is guiltless, and in his innocence is his salvation.
Wow. Just think about all of that, because what we don't want to do for the next 3 weeks is just share information concerning what God is, the I am, awareness, and our part. And there are blocks in our minds that keep us from truly accepting and embracing this reality, so that at the end of the 4 weeks that we spend together, we would have uh, deepened our awareness of the God is reality, as well as the reality of who we
Mhm.
are and the part that we play in showing up in the world every day in order to bring this light and this awareness in our own world, in your own family, with your
Mhm.
own within your own relationships, so that we can have this peace of God that we all desire, because that's really what we all desire, to have peace in every moment. So it's about our innocence. So now that we have established that foundation, that we are the innocent sons of God,
Blameless,
blameless,
guiltless,
guiltless,
innocent.
innocent,
That's us.
never to be
And
questioned again,
never to be condemned,
never to be condemned.
ever. Yeah.
That's who we are. And now it's on top of that foundation that we're going to move forward and talk a little bit more about the subject for today, which is uh, God is, and awakening to the only entity that exists, God is. So again, uh, for this masterclass, workbook lesson 169 is the foundation. That entire teaching is the foundation for our masterclass. So one of your practices each week will be to review that, because it's going to really reinforce the reality of our God is awareness.
Mhm.
So, is everybody with us out there? Raise your hand if you're with us. Okay.
So, for this class, a couple of things that will be helpful to you is to, of course, read workbook lesson 169 in its entirety. You may want to go back to the preface and
Yes.
read, especially on pages 10 and 11, just to see, to keep the right frame of mind that we're going to be dealing with this um, from the from the perceptive perception of this their angle of truth. Okay, and then in chapter 13, that will remind you of who you how we are created and who we are as a result of that creation by the source of all things. So we are guiltless, blameless, innocent at all times. And if we get stuck on that, understand our innocence is in eternity, because that's
That's
what
where we
really
are.
is.
That's where
That's
truth
what
is.
really
That's
is.
where reality is. There's nothing outside of eternity. And the experience that we're having here as human, and having this human experience, is just almost like it's a projection. It's a projection of separation, and everything around us in this world that we live in is it doesn't seem attached, it doesn't seem joined, but in reality it is. And so it is in this environment that we find ourselves having to learn about oneness,
Yes.
and to having to interpret things either through the eyes of oneness, or we're going to interpret it through the eyes of separation.
Yes.
And it's when we interpret through the eyes of oneness, then we begin to see that all of us are joined, all of us are one. The course says that all minds are joined.
Yes.
And that's so that's so a grand statement, because that means that who we really are transcends our physicality. It transcends our body. It transcends any of the physical um, creation that we see.
Yes. Yes.
And so it's about, and really, what really needs to embrace this whole idea of God is and there is nothing else, and that there is only oneness.
Mhm.
It's not who we really are. It's not our infinite self or our true self. What needs to embrace this truth is the body mind.
Yes.
It is the mind that thinks it's separated. It's the mind that thinks uh, it's it's separate from everything and everyone else
And deserving of punishment.
and deserving of punishment. That's what needs to be
Settled.
settled. That's what needs to be. That's what needs to accept the atonement. Because what the atonement said in the course, it says that the separation never occurred.
Never occurred.
It goes back to where the original idea of separation took place, and it says that the separation what?
Never even
It never did occur. So we've always been innocent. We've always been guiltless. We've always been blameless in that reality. Remember, that is what is real, and that is what cannot be threatened.
That's right.
What can be threatened is our belief in the separation. That's where the threat occurs, and that's where it can happen.
So some of what we see happen is, um, you know, other people act outside of that, or we ourselves may act outside of that. But that really is, we see people in two lights. Either you are expressing love, which is who we really are, or we're calling out for love. And when we are crying out, calling out for love, we can be incredibly unskillful. So, this is when we have a chance to, those of us who, and then the scripture talks about this, but the course does too, is that, that's what these miracles are. It's when there is one who is in need of help, and we are at a point that we can help them, that we actually extend this and express this love, so that the one that is, crying out in this very unskilled way gets helped along the way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you took part in the Friday interview with Susan, I spoke about an experience that I had. Some things I haven't shared is that back in 1997, 98, I was ordained in the church as a minister. And
You were licensed
I
as a
was
minister.
licensed as a minister.
Mhm.
And, but what I knew at the time is just what I had experienced in life and what I had been taught through the uh, Christian community. And a lot of it, uh, now that I have progressed to this point in my life, I realized a lot of it was a part of that belief in separation for most of it. And it was because of me having that belief in separation that was, even after having an experience with God personally, it was very difficult for me to see myself as guiltless or blameless. And because of that, I ended up with a mind that was full of guilt and full of judgment and full of blame, to the point where it was
And incredibly full of fear.
incredibly full of fear, that it was almost impossible for me to see myself as one with anyone, let
Mhm.
alone being one with the Creator.
Mhm.
That was the state that I was in 31, 32 years ago. And it was in 2005 that I came across A Course in Miracle. And boy, was that a miracle for me.
Well, so in our Christian experience, we were reading and studying scriptures that were saying that, we're one with Christ, and we could have the same mind that Christ had, and that, we could be love, and that He loved us so much. But we didn't hear that nearly as much as we heard that we were going to be eternally damned to a place of condemnation. I mean, where we would be eternally separated.
If we didn't
If,
connect all the dots,
yes, yeah,
if we didn't dot all the I's and cross all the T's.
yeah. So it does. It puts
Yeah.
you in, it puts you in this frame of mind of
Yeah.
fear and anxiety and confusion, just, just really, really great confusion.
Yes.
So we, of course, we were searching for peace, because we were like, this is heavy. This is a lot. So we were, of course, looking for peace.
Absolutely. And this is what we have learned over the years, even in our own marriage, is that if we don't accept each other as blameless and guiltless
And innocent.
and innocent, regardless of what happens, then we can't experience the peace of a fellowship that is blameless and guiltless and oneness. We don't sense that oneness
Mhm.
when we perceive either one or the other as not having equality. Because the way our psyche is made up, the way the psyche is made up is that if there's ever been a break, if there's ever been a separation, if there's ever been a mistrust or a misdeed, if there's ever been a belief that um, we have we have there's been a separation, and that whole story in Genesis chapter 1, where it talks about uh, Adam disobeyed God, him and Eve, and it was God that put him out of out of paradise. That whole story has been sent down through among generation of humanity, that there is a collective belief that a separation actually occurs. And what reinforces that is that we live in a world where everything is separated.
Yes.
So we're placed in this world of belief in separation, and in a world that projects to us that everything is separate. And then we're asked to be taught. We've been asked to now learn oneness, to learn oneness in this environment. Well, oneness cannot be learned. Reality cannot be learned. It can but be remembered.
Yeah.
Because the reality is we've always been one with all creation. We've always been innocent, and that will never change. And it's impossible for us to be separate.
That's right.
So this whole idea that God is and there is nothing else, when we have this awakening experience to that God is the only reality, and therefore it has to be my only reality.
Yes.
I am one with God. Jesus said it this way in his incarnation. He said, I and the Father are what?
One.
I and the Father are one. That's what he meant. And there's so many other evidence in spiritual writings that attest to that. But what's the greatest evidence of your oneness with the Father, oneness with God, and that you are part of that one love is self-evidence in your own self. As you hear us talk about this for these next 3 weeks, it's self-evident in you that this truth is true always. Mm-hmm. That is the greatest witness. In fact, that it resonates with us. But in our body, mind, nature, separation is what we've been practicing for so long. And that's why we have to have these classes, in order to reinforce the truth of who we are as one with God.
All right, let's see if they have any questions.
Cool.
Do you have anything else? You want to stop sharing this?
Yeah, I'm gonna stop sharing. And Susan, we can we said we save some time here at the end.
Okay, thank you very much, guys. Does anyone have a question for Oliver and Yolanda? If you raise your hand or type it in the chat, if there's anything you'd like to ask or have clarified, or any comments you'd like to make. Rico, hi. Unmute yourself, Rico, please, and ask your question.
All right. Good afternoon, Mr. and Mrs. Bloom. Thank you for being here.
Good afternoon,
Thank you for
Rico.
your presentation. I like the concept of the oneness. What would be a good exercise for me within the oneness to practice the non-separation?
Thank you for your question. So, as part of your work information, part of your packet for this week, we have the God is meditation. And it can be done both as a meditation and it can be done as an affirmation as well. So you can listen to the meditation, but also just throughout the day. And it's not that you have to say all of them. There are going to be certain ones that are going to resonate with you. That's
Right.
that you're going to be thinking of. I don't ignore those. Whenever it is that something is being, I keep hearing over and over again, I don't resist that. I stay with that. So use the God is well, you can do the meditation, and then you also do the list as
Declaration.
your declarations, your affirmations. That will help with that. And then, like I said, uh, when you go back and you look at the when you read those things in chapter 13, that also talks about our guiltlessness, about God's son being guiltless,
And innocence.
though and innocent. Those are the things that reinforce this is who we really are. So we want to be reading about who we really are instead of reading about what we're not. We don't when we're studying for a test in school, we don't study what we don't need to know. We study what we need to know for the test. And I really believe that we spend too much time on that, which doesn't even, it's not going to benefit us at all anyway, because that's not who we are.
Just think about it, Rico, and everyone here. Our oneness is a real thing. Our even in the minds that appear to be here on this plane, they're all joined. All minds are joined. So the thoughts that you experience are not your personal thoughts. Um, all of us have to deal with like passing clouds that pass in the natural, and we see clouds come and go. And in this world of perception, that's basically how this world operates. Things come and they go because they're not real.
Mhm.
See, reality is that which is unchanging, that which is constant, that which is permanent. And that's where our real uh, self reside. And that's outside of this time and space. So the mind that we are working with inside of time and space, the mind that you think with and the thoughts that you listen to and the world that you interpret and everything that happens in the world, you'll notice we a lot of time we all got a personal opinion about it. But in truth, but in heaven, but in reality, but in the creation part of us that has never changed, none of that has impacted the real reality of our oneness, of our innocence, of our nature of being loved, of our nature of awareness. None of that changes. It's just in time and space. We're having this time and space experience and having to now remember what the truth is. In this, it's almost like we've been put in the hardest class that you can ever take to learn the simplest lesson. I don't think there is another realm that has a lower vibration than what we've had to deal with in this life. My dear mother is on here with us. My mother is 88 years old, and she the one that got me started with the belief in God and having a consciousness towards something greater than me.
Mhm.
And my mom can tell you, she has been a student of God all her life, and she became a student of the Course in Miracles a couple years after I got into it because I had to share it with her. And she'll tell you, even to this day, she's still a course student. She'll tell you, even to this day, she has to get up daily and she has to remind herself of who she is. She has to remind this mind that's thinking separated. And so she gets involved with her devotional reading, her prayer. It's a daily chore. If any of y'all took Lisa's 40-day program,
I wouldn't call it a chore.
it's
It's
a
a
daily
daily
practice.
exercise.
Right.
It's a daily
But
practice.
if any of you have been involved with Lisa's 40-day program, one of the 40-day lessons is putting God first. If it's making God a priority in your life, or making your fellowship with the oneness in the present a priority. Because if you notice on the days that you do it, in many cases, you are prepared for anything that may arise, any thought that may arise. But on the days that we just say, okay, que sera, we'll just roll with what happens, then we find ourselves lacking peace, find ourselves in judgment. We find ourselves feeling and seeing others as separated from us
And walking around in unforgiveness.
and walking around in unforgiveness. So it's really about if you've accepted the truth for yourself, then that's the way you want to show up every day, in every moment of every day in the world. Because it's all about where you focus your attention.
Yes.
It's where you focus your attention, because you have a choice in every moment on where you focus your attention. You can focus it on separation, or you can focus it on oneness. It's your choice.
Mhm.
So in every moment, what you are experiencing is a result of your choice.
Yes. Thank you for the question.
Thank you for the question, Rico.
No, thank you for the explanation. I appreciate the detail. I needed that. Thank you so much.
Thank you. So just to recap the practices that you want us all to do this week. So far, you've said that you'd like us to, it would be helpful for us to look at the preface, and that's in the FIP edition of A Course in Miracles, the blue book, pages Roman numerals X and X1.
Yes.
To read chapter 13 would be helpful. And then also to listen to your God is meditation in the morning, or whenever we have our quiet time. And then you've given us a list of the 14 God is workbook lessons with instructions to repeat those if that's helpful, and to choose one of them to focus on as our daily practice during the week.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anything else you would add to that or clarify about that for people so that they know what they're doing?
Yeah. Well, Jesus supposedly is the author of the course, according to Helen, and I believe he is. And Jesus is a symbol of love. He's a symbol of the one reality that there is, just like you are, Rico, and everybody here in this classroom with us. We all are symbols of that one love. There is but the one love, and we're part of that one love. Nothing is excluded. If anything was excluded, it wouldn't be one love. It wouldn't be oneness. And so, as Jesus authored this book, he knew the mind that we had to deal with and the mind that we had to renew, because he experienced it in his own incarnation. Because he was a man just like we. He was a man just like us. However, he just knew oneness. He knew oneness, and he didn't take on any other else. He was ego free. But that was through a choice that he made. Mm-hmm. So he knew the split mind that we would have to deal with and to wade through in order to get to the truth. And so in creating the Course in Miracles, that's why he created in the format of a course. So that you have daily practices, daily reinforcing of this truth. Because remember, we're working with a mind that appears to be split and separate from the truth. That's what needs awakening. That's what needs renewing. That's what needs to be healed. Not necessarily the body or our finances or our neighbors or the government. All those things are what they are, because they are operating in a system of separation. But what really needs to be healed in all of us is our mind, our belief that we were separated from God at some point. And that still impacts us now, keeps us from embracing this truth of oneness.
Yes.
So that's why the workbook format in the Course in Miracles and in many effective books, there are daily lessons. Why? because we need to daily remind ourselves of the truth of who we are.
Thank you. Does anyone else, we have 5 minutes remaining. Does anyone else have a question or like to ask Oliver and Yolanda anything? Indigo, please, would you like to unmute yourself?
Hi, so happy to be here. What do you suggest for like a daily practice? Like in the morning, I I spend time with God, but I just want to see if you had something that you suggest that I could do um, besides spending time with God. So yeah, that's what I want to see if you have any suggestions for a daily practice in the morning.
Well, I would say that the answer to that is within you.
Yes.
When you awaken to this reality, you realize that spending time with the source doesn't have to be in isolation. It could be washing the dishes.
It doesn't
could-
have to be routine.
It doesn't have to be routine. I walk around the house, whether I'm showering or whether I'm singing. If I feel like singing, I sing a praise. I do have my own ritual. I always wake up, and first I just wake up in a state of gratitude, because it doesn't take very long for you to awake from sleep and the mind wants to go to work.
Yes.
That self-talk wants to start up. There's a offering of worry and anxiety right there to greet you the moment you wake up. So you have to remind yourself immediately, I am who I am as my Father, in whatever way that it resonates with you through your studies. You just begin to get certain declarations that you say to yourself to change the thought pattern in your mind.
Yes.
And then from that point, anything that you do during the day, that you always take one thought or one idea with you, is where I am. And I use that as a reminder. It reminds me of who I am, because it's all about, we are not our thoughts, but your thoughts will want to convince you that you are your thoughts. You are not your situation, your circumstance, or your conditions.
Mm-hmm.
You are not your timeline. You are not the summation of what happened from birth until this present moment. That's just what you have experienced. That's not who you are. That's just the experience that you have. And in many cases, we long for a different experience, or we are discontent about the experiences that we did have. Well, you are in complete control of changing that. We all are, because we are the God of our life. We are the final authority in our life, because remember,
We are the highest
Highest
authority
authority.
in our life.
yeah. And this whole concept of God being outside of us, a sky God, or outside, he's not with me, or she's not with me, all that is separation. You and God are one. God is, and there's nothing else. So whatever you do, it's okay. However you decide to spend your day, it's okay. What practice you decide to do, it's okay. Find what resonates with you.
Right.
It's not a secret.
Yeah, and it's not the ritual. I will say this though, staying in a place of gratitude um, actually elevates our expectation. It also lifts our energy. And so when we're at that place of gratitude, we begin to expect things at that vibrational level. So it's a place of gratitude. We
Yes.
always start the day with one thing that we're happy and grateful for. And we say that we are
Yes.
deeply happy and grateful
Yes.
for. And there are so
Yeah.
many things that we're grateful
Yeah.
for. People were going on and on about how 2020 was so horrible. We were happy and grateful because we experienced tremendous blessing in 2020, and we said what those things were. So when we don't take those things for granted, when we're grateful and when we stay in that place of gratitude for what it is that we have, because if you take the thought, there's always a situation or someone else that's in a far worse state than we are. So then from that place of gratitude is where we go and we start to help someone else.
Yes.
We bless someone. I was able to get toilet paper and paper towels, and it was such a great, they let me get more than one. So I got, I got 5, and I was like, let me just drop them off for the senior neighbors that are here that don't have a chance to get out. Just put it on the doorbell, rang the bell, got in my car and said, hi. And they're like, hi, Yolanda. So those kinds of things, any of those things help.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
And do we have time for Carol?
Do we have one more?
Yeah, of course you do. Of course.
She's got her hand raised.
Carol needs to be unmuted. There
Yep.
she is. Hey,
I'm
Carol.
here. I want to say to both of you that I embraced you at the fall conference so much, and I have followed you wherever I could on here. It is very apparent that you two love and respect each other, and it comes across in your presentation, what makes it doubly blessing for all of us. I am very grateful and impressed with your presentation format. Your slideshow is very, very helpful, and you repeat the simple, basic core things in many, many ways. And that's what I am looking forward to receiving from you, is that repeated, that it rings another bell and another bell and another bell. So I just wanted to say thank you so very, very much. I am so looking forward to the rest of this journey and your smiling faces. So blessings to you both.
Well,
thank you, Carol.
thank you so much, Carol.
In 30 years, you can imagine that we've had challenges.
Oh, yes.
But we decided, we choose. And if something is not working, because we understand that we are as our creator created us, so we choose again. I mean,
Yes.
and we're just not going to throw anyone under the bus. We're not going to back up and run over you several times. We're not going to do that. We've decided how we're going to
Yes.
show up in the world, and we choose love, we choose joy, peace, we choose beauty.
Because that's who we are.
That's right.
That's
Yes.
He's love only, and I'm love
Yeah.
beauty. So
and when I say that's who we are,
Yeah.
like the Bible says, we didn't create ourselves. We are an extension of the one thing. And that one thing is love and beauty and joy and peace. And that is who we are.
I will share this with you. We do have a practice that we do, and no one, I don't know where we came up. No, we didn't learn this from someone. We started doing this. When we have a challenge, because all of us do, we have circumstances or situations that come up that we don't want. So when that happens, I never go to Oliver and say, this is happening. That's not what happened. I go to him and I tell him, Oliver, the camera.
The camera went off?
Yeah.
Oh.
See,
Yes,
we're flat.
your camera's off.
It's just the it got overheated, so he has to just open. And we're gonna keep talking. You guys stay there. But I come to him and I tell him what it is that I am expecting or that I am desiring, and because of what I say to him, he knows where the challenge is. So I don't speak the problem. It's sort of like we all have if we've had pets. We don't. It's gonna come up. There it goes. There it goes.
There you go.
We're back.
You're back.
We have pets. If our pet is sitting on our lap or sitting, at our feet right next to us, we don't keep calling, our pet. So our daughter has a dog. He was the first grand. We were pet grandparents first. We now have a grandson that we're totally thrilled about. But we don't, and his name is Kona. He's a little teacup Yorkie. So if Kona is sitting on my lap, I don't sit there and say, Kona, come here, Kona, come here, boy. Come. I don't call for him to come
Because he's already
if
there.
he's already on my lap.
Right.
So we are in the habit of, we don't say what it is that we have if what we have is not what we're desiring
That's
at
right.
that time. What we do is we say what it is that we want.
Yes. Yes. And that's why you don't have to call for innocence. You are innocent.
Yeah.
You've always been innocent.
We don't call for not being separated.
Yeah.
We're
So-
not separated. So I don't
Yeah.
say, I want to be separated. No,
Yeah.
I just talk about my oneness with the Father.
Yeah.
I am deeply
Yeah.
happy and grateful
Yeah.
that I am one with the source of
Yeah.
all things, and
Yeah.
that I have the opportunity to share this oneness, this love, this joy, this peace,
Right.
with others.
Right.
That's my function.
Yeah. The Bible said we can't add 1 cubit to our stature. We can't do anything or not do anything to change the reality of who we are. And we'll be that way throughout all eternity, which means it has no end.
Well, there's
And
this,
we were that before we appeared in these bodies. We just don't remember it.
yes, that's right.
We just don't remember it.
And there
So-
is this scripture that says there is nothing that will separate us from the love of God. So, and then
Not
it talks
life,
about, yeah, and
Not life, not death, not things present, nor things to come. Nothing can separate us. Nothing has ever separated us. We've always been this one love, part of this one love. That's who we are. And as we embrace that without any doubt, without any concern or fear, when we embrace that, then our experience of that will shine like bright lights in the world.
yes.
And that's what we are here as we awake to that. That's what we're here to be and to do and to give. That's it. That's it.
Thank you, guys. That's just what a wonderful way to end your first presentation. Thank you so much. It's lovely to see everybody. It's lovely to see your mum, Oliver.
Yeah.
Hi, Grandma Blue.
Hey, Grandma. Hey, Mama.
Hi, Sarah. I see some other people that I know. Hi,
Everyone's
Sarah.
waving.
Hi, Sarah. Hi, everyone. We love you so
Yes,
much.
we're so glad
And
you
we're
guys are
going to
here.
have fun these next 4 weeks, 3 weeks. We're going to have cake. We're going to dance for you. And also, Susan is going to share this presentation with you. It will
Yeah.
be over in the member part of your the Evolve.
Yeah, that's right. I was just going to say that, Oliver, that shortly after this presentation, the slideshow and the weekly practice will be there. The weekly practice is already there just now for you to go over and download. There's a PDF for you to download. So thank you so much, guys. I'll see everybody at the gathering on Saturday where we can discuss our practice of what Oliver and Yolanda has taught us tonight. Thanks, everybody, for coming. Thank you. See you guys next week.
Bye-bye.
Thank God.
Bye. Bye, everyone.